everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing a book haul for you guys. So as promised, here's the second part of my book haul. I'm really sad that like both parts are still, well, not sad, but they're both still so huge. I still have so many books to talk about, and today I'm focusing just on books that were sent to me by the publisher, and a lot of these I actually ended up acquiring from work, because one of the perks of doing an internship at a publisher is that you end up getting a lot of free books, which is really nice. So I have a lot of variation of books here. I've got some YA, I have a ton of cookbooks to show you that I'm going to kind of sprinkle in, but I'm really excited about all of these, so let's just get into it. I apologize in advance if I'm kind of touching my hair a lot, but one, I think I put too much product in it today, and two, I really don't like how the new hairdresser cut it. Like, I don't like how short the top layer is, because then it just looks really fluffy on top. So I'm not vibing with what's happening on my head right now, but that is besides the point. I just wanted to give you a warning because I have gotten comments on how much I touch my hair, which I know, but it's just a nervous habit. Anyways, the first book that I wanted to show you guys is A Forgery of Roses by Jessica S. Olsen. So I talked about this book in my recent April TBR because I'm really hoping to read it this month, and it sounds absolutely amazing. But this was sent to me by Inkyard Press. I did a sponsored video for it, but this video isn't sponsored by them, but it's by the same author as Sing Me Forgotten, which is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. This one isn't a retelling, it's just a super cool fantasy story where this girl has the ability, she's an artist, and she has the ability to paint, but when she paints bodies, like, it actually changes people's bodies. So someone is trying to use that power to bring someone back to life. So obviously, like, that's going to be really twisted, but it ends up being like this gothic murder mystery with the brother of the person that they are trying to bring back to life, that they're trying to discover like how his brother was killed, because it definitely was sinister. So it seems really interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this book. Next up, I have Tokyo Dreaming by Amiko Jean. I'm so excited to have the sequel in my hands now. It is actually out soon, so it's coming out in May. It doesn't say the exact date anywhere that I can see at the moment. It just says May 2022, so I'm not 100% sure when this one is coming out, but I do know I'm really excited for it. Now, I have talked about this a lot recently, that I'm not a big fan of series, but there are certain ones that I will give a go. It's more so like really long fantasy series or things like that, where I have to remember a lot from the first book. Those are the ones that kind of turn me off a little bit. But Tokyo Dreaming is the sequel to Tokyo Ever After, and I just loved that book so much because it was so easy. It was just like easy breezy, beautiful, and I just absolutely loved that. It was the easiest escapist read. I flew through it and I had a blast when I was reading it as well. So this is following that. I don't think it's a companion, but either way, this one I think is a sequel that I will like an easy one to go into. And I would just like to say, I don't hate all sequels, because like some people were calling me out about that. I don't hate all sequels. I just am not a huge fan of series, and I find that sequels, I'm kind of usually over the story by the time I go to read them. So that's all I meant by that, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of clear my name, if you will. Also, we're just gonna pretend that that's not happening. Like, my shelves are a mess. One of the videos that I want to film today is actually like a live unhaul, where I'm just going through my shelves vlog style kind of and unhauling books, because it's gotten to a point where I know that I have a lot of sequels that I'm never going to read, and I just need to let them go. So that's the plan. Anyways, next up is I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, which was also sent to me alongside Tokyo Dreaming, and they have really nice covers together. Like the green, I guess that's just the color of the season. But of course, Casey McQuiston is the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, as well as One Last Stop. And I haven't gotten the chance to read One Last Stop yet, but I did really enjoy Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I am really excited to eventually read One Last Stop. Now, this one's kind of different because it is their first YA novel, which is really exciting. So I am super looking forward to that. And I believe this is a sapphic romance. So it's following the main character who really is dedicated to school, is dedicated to doing well in things, but she has this like arch nemesis, Shara Wheeler, and she is kind of her academic competition, if you will. But a month before graduation, Shara Wheeler ends up kissing the main character and then just completely disappearing. So it kind of is giving me Paper Towns vibes a little bit. Like, I'm definitely seeing that connection here, but I'm super interested to see where that is going to go. I think there's a lot of ways it could go, but we'll see. I didn't even realize this actually, but they are actually going to a Christian academy, which is interesting. Anyways, I was just trying to find the release date for this one, but it just says May 2022 again, so I don't have an exact date. I'm sorry. Next up is See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I'm so excited to have another Rachel Lynn Solomon YA book because I do actually have, I mean, I have her last YA book, but I recently have picked up her newest adult book. So she writes adult romances as well, which I didn't even realize until this year. But this is not following Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which you might think it is. I know that I did. I thought it was a sequel or a companion because the covers are so similar, but it is following completely different characters. So this one is coming out May 3rd, 2022, and I thought I wrote down notes for it, but I guess I missed this one when I was like writing down notes for all of these books. But this one is a magical romance in the vein of Groundhog Day about a girl forced to relive her disastrous first day of college, only to discover that her nemesis is stuck in the same time loop with her. I think that seems really interesting. It kind of like, I understand why they went for a similar cover story with this one and kind of a similar title as well with like the 3 words or whatever, because it is sort of similar. Like, I can see where they were going with this one, that if you did enjoy Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, you probably will like this one. But I'm really interested in that concept. It sounds very unique, and I do love a good Groundhog Day story. I apparently did like a horrible job of writing down notes for all of these books, but next we have Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Xiran J. Zhao. So this is by the author of Iron Widow, which I know has been talked about so much. Like, it has been very hyped up, but I haven't gotten the chance to read this yet. But I believe this is this author's first middle grade novel. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that they are Canadian, which is amazing. So I always love to support Canadian authors. So like I said, this is a middle grade, but it is a contemporary fantasy following a young boy as he journeys across China. But he's not just like vacationing, he's actually journeying across China to seal the underworld and keep the mortal realm safe. So that seems like a very high stakes situation, obviously, but I love the concept for this one. And once again, this one will be out in May 2022. Just a heads up, May is a really big time for new releases. Specifically, this one also comes out on May 3rd. Usually the first Tuesday of May, there are so many like big new releases. I don't know why, but it's kind of always been like that. Sorry if you heard my phone vibrate, it's like right beside the camera. So if you thought that it was your phone, I'm sorry, it was mine. But a lot of Sarah J. Maas books, I think it was specifically the Aquatar series, used to come out on the first Tuesday of May, and then Throne of Glass would come out on the first Tuesday of September, which is another really big day for new releases. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's just how it works out. While we're on the topic of middle grade, actually, next I have Witchlings by Claribel Ortega. I'm so excited to have this book. Claribel is such a sweet person. I met her at Booknet Fest one year, and she is just really, really lovely. So I'm really excited for her next book. This actually came in an amazing package that had like a hoodie in it. It had like a little scratch card things where you can figure out which like coven you're a part of. It was super cool. But this is a magical adventure story, and it follows 3 witchlings who must work together to do the impossible in hopes of gaining their full powers. So it seems like a really interesting concept. Like I said, there's different like kinds of witches that you can be. I'm just totally into the whole witch story. This cover is beautiful, and I really love Claribel, so I'm so excited for her. To talk about a cookbook now, actually, because I didn't want to leave like all the cookbooks till the end, so I'm gonna sprinkle them in here. So next we have The Quick Fix Kitchen by Tia Mowry. So this is easy recipes and time-saving tips for a healthier, stress-free life, which just, that sounds great for me. So there was kind of like a promotion at work where we got to pick out 10 books from a list, and there were a bunch of cookbooks on there, so I ended up going for a lot of the cookbooks, which is why I have so many to talk about. But I was really intrigued by this one because I'm definitely in for some like quick fix mixes on those nights when I don't really feel like cooking that much. I think this looks like it has a bunch of really great, just different recipes from, am I looking at it? Donuts, that sounds delicious right now. It just seems to kind of have a little bit of everything for some like weeknight, you know, things. I'm going through the like kids cooking section, which is unhelpful for me, but it also has like a lot of good tips in here. Actually, there's a lot of really great information too. So I love the fact that it is a little bit like recipes and then a little bit of information, which is awesome. Next, I have a pretty sizable stack of Simon & Schuster books here. So first we have Trigger by N. Griffin. This is described as the Queen's Gambit, which admittedly I've never seen, but it's the Queen's Gambit meets the Hunger Games. I think the most interesting part about this one is that it's actually drawn from the author's own experience, but it's a story dealing with child abuse as well, so that is something to keep in mind. But it follows a teen girl whose abusive father teaches her all about chess and hunting, but for his own sinister end. So I'm kind of scared to read this one, to be honest. It seems like really chilling, but I guess we'll see what it is all about. They also sent me this lovely graphic novel, which I'm really excited about. It is Isla to Island, and it's by Alexis Castellanos. So this is actually a graphic novel with like no words in it. It's pretty much just a novel and pictures, but the illustrations are absolutely beautiful, and I think it's going to be really, really powerful. So Isla to Island, if you were kind of looking and noticed, it is about a young Cuban girl who ends up immigrating to the United States and has to redefine what home means for her. So it's a story about immigration, about belonging, a coming of age story. I love the fact that it's in a wordless graphic novel, and like it just looks like there's certain parts that are just colorless, but then there's little pops of color. I think it's going to be really intelligent. It seems super interesting. I'm just intrigued by the whole thing, and I can't wait to read this. I'll probably do it sometime this week because obviously it's going to be a pretty quick read. Next up is Rimas Rebellion by Margarita Engel. So this is actually by a Cuban American author, so it's another Cuban story, and she actually writes stories that are told in verse. So I have her other book, I think it's downstairs somewhere, but I definitely do have it, and I haven't gotten the chance to read it yet, but I do love a good novel in verse. This one is particularly very intriguing because it follows a girl who has the courage to fight for women's right to vote in Cuba in the 1920s. But while she's protesting this and being very brave, she also is falling in love. So it's kind of like her being just a regular girl, but then her also having this really great cause that she's fighting for. So I love the juxtaposition of that, and I think this is going to be a very, very good novel in verse. So next I will talk about another cookbook. So we have Lick Your Plate by Julie Albert and Lisa Nat. This is a lip-smacking book for every home cook. I was drawn in by this cover, I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, it's so colorful, but even the recipes on the inside, I love the design of this. It's just very unique, but it has a lot of like really good staple recipes, but a lot of different twists, like Asian chicken salad with ramen croutons. That sounds absolutely delicious. So once again, a cookbook that has absolutely a little bit of everything in there for you. If you guys wanted me to do a cookbook collection, I could also do that because I do have quite a few cookbooks. So let me know if that is something that you would be interested in. Next up is Wrecked by Heather Henson. So this book is described as Looking for Alaska meets Breaking Bad. Really interesting combination. But it's essentially following 3 teens who are caught in the middle of the opioid crisis in a rural part of America. And they're kind of trying to navigate that as the world seems to be like literally exploding around them. So I think this is a really timely book. I don't think it's going to be the easiest read, but I think it's one that is really important as well. Next up, I have Game Changer by Abby Glines. So this is actually the, like, I don't even know, 7th book or something in this series. That could be a little bit dramatic, but I do know that she has some really long series. Well, there are 5, so this is the 6th at least. I think it's the 6th, but the first one is Until Friday Night, if you guys were interested in that, but they are football stories. So I obviously didn't like actually read the synopsis synopsis because I didn't want to spoil myself, but I do have the last book now. I'll probably like find this one a new home if someone has read the rest of the series. I feel like they would be a lot more interested in this one than I am, but maybe I will pick up the first book in the series. Who knows? It's just the fact that there are 6 of them. That is overwhelming. Next up is Turning by Joy L. Smith. So this is a finished copy. I had been sent the ARC, but this is a finished copy of this book and I'm really, really excited to have it. This finished copy is so beautiful. Like, this cover is stunning. So this is a debut book that is following a former aspiring ballerina who has to confront her past in order to move on after she has had a devastating fall that left her without the use of her legs. So she can't dance anymore as she used to. She has to find a way to move past this and accept it. And obviously it's going to be something really difficult for her. So I'm anticipating this being a really difficult and sad read, but I think it's going to be a great one as well. So the next cookbook that I want to talk about is That Sounds So Good by Carla Lolly Music. So this one I actually did by myself, but I forgot to include it in the last haul, so we're just gonna throw it in here. I do actually have another book, a cookbook by this author, but I've never made anything from the cookbook yet. I like to collect them and then I go through phases where like certain ones I will just cook from that cookbook and then I move on to the next one, or sometimes I'm just cooking from online recipes like blogs that I find. So it really depends, but this one does look delicious. It looks like there's so many really great recipes in here. Like, come on, how delicious. I just love cookbooks with pictures particularly, and definitely like most of the ones that I have picked up, they like knock it out of the park with this picture department, especially this one. It has a lot of like 2-page spreads, but it has lots of really yummy recipes that look absolutely delicious. So I can't wait. It does sound so good. Next, I was sent a paperback copy of 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott with Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Iaconis. So this came out a couple years ago now, and it also came out as a movie, and I have actually watched the movie and I was pretty like pleasantly surprised. I did enjoy it. I kind of watched it. I don't watch movies that often, so I don't know what prompted me. I think it was specifically for Bookmas that I watched it, but I did have a pretty good time watching it. I did enjoy it. So I don't know if I will end up reading the book. I think this adaptation is a different situation than others. I'm pretty sure that the movie came first and then they wrote the book, which is really interesting. I have a couple of other books by Rachel Lippincott specifically that I think I would like to read before reading this one, but I'll have to see. Like, I have to kind of think about it a little bit and then see if this is one where I want to read the book. And the final book from that Simon & Schuster stack is Always Jane by Jen Bennett, another book where they sent me the ARC, but I've been having so much trouble reading lately that I didn't get the chance to get to it. I'm really sorry. Jen Bennett has written so many contemporary romances and I have really enjoyed all of them. Like, some I like more than others, but I haven't been disappointed. I do really like reading them, and I think she's an author that if you enjoy Morgan Matson, you're definitely going to like her, so you should probably check her out. But this book actually follows a chauffeur's daughter who ends up getting caught in this love triangle with their wealthy neighbor's sons. So it definitely seems like a sticky situation, but we'll see. I have a few more novels to talk about, but I'm gonna go to another cookbook right now. So the next one is Dessert Person by Claire Saffitz. This one, I'm not a huge baker because I can follow a recipe, but I find that baking, I don't have the patience to make things look really pretty. So things will taste good, but they never turn out looking pretty, and I get very frustrated about it. So that's why I'm not a huge dessert person. However, I also don't have a huge sweet tooth, by the way. Like, I'm more into savory, salty, like that sort of thing. But I have been told by so many people that this is a great cookbook to have. I know my sister has this one, and that's kind of why I decided to pick it up. It does have like pistachio pinwheels sound delicious. I really love pistachio. It does have a lot of really great, like, so many different desserts in here, lots of options, and I do like how it like does things step by step for you with pictures. That's very helpful for someone like me who is just kind of a bit chaotic in the kitchen. But you have like your more savory things in here as well. You have your desserts, just a little bit of everything. So I am happy that I have this one because I know it is very hyped up, and you know, I want to know why, so I will have to make something from it soon. Next up is The Unsinkable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith. So Jennifer E. Smith has quite a few YA contemporary romances, but this is her first adult romance, so I'm really excited about that. I haven't read her in a while now, but I know her books were always really fast and like I know that one of them at least got me out of a reading slump after like university exams. So that's awesome, and probably something I should read soon, honestly, to get out of the current slump that I'm in. But this book is about an indie magician who is reeling from tragedy, and she ends up reconnecting with her long estranged father on a week-long cruise. So that seems very intriguing. I've never read a book about a cruise. Actually, no, that's not true. I did read one. I definitely still have it somewhere, but I read one where it was a death cruise. So like the family went on a cruise with the grandmother because the grandmother wanted to die at sea. So it was like a very interesting book. If I can remember the title and any of you guys want to know it, then just comment down below and I can let you know. I can picture the cover. I can't think of the title right now. But anyways, I'm just really excited to see Jennifer E. Smith writing something a little bit different, writing an adult novel. So definitely has me really intrigued. Next up, shortly before I was going to film this video, I got this book in the mail. So it is Blaine for the Win by Robbie Couch. This follows a boy who he breaks up with his boyfriend. Actually, his boyfriend breaks up with him because he doesn't feel like he's serious enough. So then the main character, Blaine, he ends up running for school president to show like that he can be really serious. So that obviously seems like an interesting situation, but it seems like a lot of fun. I've heard some great things about Robbie Couch. I actually have another book by this author, The Sky Blues, on my TBR still, so I will probably try and read that one first, but I am excited to have this one. The next cookbook that I have to talk about is Perth and Home, Cook, Share, and Celebrate Family Style by Lynn Crawford and Laura Kirk. I kind of picked this up because like I watch Food Network, you know, I've seen Chef Lynn Crawford a lot, and I was like, okay, I need another like cookbook for the little free thing that was happening at work, so I picked this one up. But then when I was flipping through it, I was like, my goodness, does this look delicious. Like all of the pictures in here just absolutely look delicious and phenomenal, and I am so excited for them. I saw so many recipes that like I just wanted to make absolutely immediately because they look so good. Oh my god, it just made me hungry, which to me is, you know, the mark of a really great cookbook. So I am really glad that I ended up picking this one up, and I can't wait to make something from it soon. Next up, Penguin contacted like me as Hailey in Bookland, so this is apart from work, but they asked if I wanted to receive a copy of Daughters of the Deer by Danielle Daniel, and I said yes because I think it seems like a really great story. So this is a Canadian historical fiction, and it's the author imagining the lives of her ancestors in Algonquin territory in the 1600s. It's actually inspired by a link that she discovered with her family to a girl who was murdered in I don't want to speak French right now. I'm sorry, please don't make fun of me. Trois-Rivières, which is basically somewhere not that far from where I live actually, but it is in the early days of French settlement. So it's inspired by a distant link in her family to Indigenous people in Canada, and it seems very, very interesting. So I'm really excited to read this one. While we're on the topic of Quebec, next I have Mandy's Gourmet Salads, which is Recipes for Lettuce and Life by Mandy Wolf, Rebecca Wolf, and Meredith Erickson. So I had kind of seen this cookbook around, didn't really know what it was all about, but then when I actually ordered it, I discovered that it's a restaurant, it's a salad bar in Montreal, so I'll have to go one time. But it just has a ton of, what even is that? Oh, it's buns. I was so confused. I was just looking at it in the viewfinder and it was really hard to tell what was happening, but it just has all sorts of different like food recipes. Poutine food truck salad sounds absolutely delicious. It's mainly focusing on salads, obviously, but you've got dressings in here. There's like even some desserts and stuff. We've got a little bit of everything, but I'm definitely excited to make some salads from here. My boyfriend, fun fact, is literally obsessed with salads, so I know that anything that I make from this cookbook he's gonna be really excited about. Next, I ended up getting Burn After Writing by Sharon Jones. I believe this was really hyped up on TikTok. I haven't seen it much. The algorithm is still trying to figure out like what kind of person I am though. I end up on really weird places. For some reason I was on weed TikTok. I don't know how I ended up there, but I did. Like, I have no clue. Mostly I'm on animal TikTok and then a little bit of book talk, but really not that much. I don't know. It's confusing. But anyways, this is like a self-help sort of like Wreck This Journal sort of thing. And Wreck This Journal was actually something that really, really helped me when I was having a tough time as a teenager. So I think that this could be something fun, like something really interesting, a little bit different, and I'm excited to kind of dive into it. It has a lot of like different questions in here, like the craziest thing I've ever done in my life, the 5 best times I've ever had in my life, things I've learned along the way, like quick fire little checking off things. It's really kind of like an introspective sort of thing, it seems like, but I'm excited for it. And the last cookbook that I have here is Cooking at Home by David Chang and Priya Krishna. This is just kind of like, as it says, or how I learned to stop worrying about recipes and love my microwave. So I feel like there's kind of two kinds of home cooks. The people who follow recipes like to a T, which is more like how I am, and then the people who like just kind of adapt things, but I like to follow the recipe. I figure it's the way that it is for a reason, and I don't want to mess with it and then be disappointed because I already like put all this effort into this recipe. So I feel like this is going to be a good book to kind of like get me out of that and get me experimenting a little bit more, because I do really love cooking. This is definitely a cookbook that has a lot of information in it, and it's a good one to actually sit and read and glean some of the information and the tips in it. So I love the idea of it. I love the concept of it. It's also, as you can see, so absolutely colorful on the inside, so it just seems like a really great time. And we are down to the last two books. So the next book is a self-help book, and that is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. So Brene Brown, she came out with a Netflix show last year, I believe, and she just is a very hyped up, like really well loved self-help author, but I've never read anything by her, but this one was on that little list to pick from, so I was like, this seems like a good place to start. So this one is How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. Everything but parenting sounds great to me. I'm sorry, I really don't want kids. In all honesty though, I know people love her so much, so I'd love to know why. See what all the hype is about and everything, and I definitely could use all of the self-help that I can possibly get right now. I think this one seems interesting because like one of the chapters as I was flipping through is understanding combating shame. So it seems like it's going to be a book kind of about like how to stop caring about what other people think, which is something I majorly need help with, so I'm looking forward to this one. And the final book that I have here is actually a fiction book, and that is With Love from London by Sarah Geo. So this was one of the books that was in that list, and there weren't very many fiction books in that list, I will say, which is fine. This actually seems adorable though, so I am really excited for it. It's about a librarian who ends up inheriting a bookshop from her estranged mother. So just to read the back of the book for you guys, when a woman inherits her estranged mother's bookstore in London's Primrose Hill, she finds herself thrust into the pages of a new story, hers, filled with long-held family secrets and the possibility of new love and perhaps the single greatest challenge of her life. So it seems like it's going to be a story about family, a story about belonging, and a story really about self-discovery for the main character. And those all like tick all my boxes. Okay, so that is all for the book haul. There was so many books, but I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys in another new one soon. Bye!